to Kat Tries to Bake. Today we are going to be making homemade baked donuts. Today's recipe is brought to you by Mel's Kitchen Cafe. I find all of my recipes on Pinterest and I really was craving donuts one day and I found this one. So thank you, Mel from Idaho, it says. And I will link the recipe in the description of this video. I was excited about this recipe because every other donut recipe I've found requires me to get like a donut pan and I don't want to spend that money. This one just requires a cookie cutter to cut out the hole in the middle, I guess. So I'm excited to do this and let's get started. The first part of step one involves me pouring my warm milk into the bowl of the electric mixer. I have a cup and a third cup, 1 1/3 cup of warm milk, and it says that it should be between 95 and 105 degrees, which I made sure my milk is. So I'm gonna pour that in right now. So now we are going to stir in the yeast and sugar. This is 2 teaspoons of instant yeast, and then I'm gonna add 2/3 cup of sugar. Okay, and I'm just gonna mix it with this spoon. The yeast is currently all clumping together. I don't know if that's okay or not. I honestly don't bake with yeast very often, so I'm sure it'll all get mixed in later. The next step is to add our 2 tablespoons of butter. It's not coming out. Okay, there we go. It says add the butter, then mix the eggs, flour, nutmeg, and salt. So I'm gonna have 2 large eggs in here. Then we have 5 cups of all-purpose flour. So all of that's gonna go in. It doesn't say to add it a little bit at a time, so I just dumped all of it in. It says a pinch or 2 of nutmeg. I'm gonna do 2, why not? Then a teaspoon of salt. That's fine. Should I do the Rachel Ray thing where she throws salt behind her back? I'm gonna do it because I love Rachel Ray. That's a lot of salt. I will vacuum later. Beat the dough with the dough hook attachment or with a wooden spoon and eventually your hands for 2 to 3 minutes at medium speed. You know what? I'm gonna mix this together just a little bit because I feel like it's not super combined, and then I'm gonna take my dough hook attachment out, which I've never used. I was really scared for a second that I didn't actually have one, but I do have one. Crisis averted.
I thought you were gonna say Christ is living.
Christ is alive. Wait, how do I put this in? Huh? Oh wait, oh, it's covered by a sticker. Again, I've never used this before. Liddy! I just mixed it for a little bit over 2.5 minutes. I'm a little confused because around like the 1 and 1.5 minute mark, it really turned into a ball, and then it kind of like splattered open and then became not a ball. I did add a little bit of flour at a time like the instructions said if I thought it was looking too sticky. I'm gonna knead the dough for a few more minutes. Ooh, I'm poking the dough and it's a little stickier than I want it to be. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add maybe 2 tablespoons of flour, mix it, and then like add more as needed until it kind of pulls away like before. Alrighty.
You have to let it prove, right?
Okay, I just put in 2 tablespoons. Let's mix it a little longer. So I ended up adding a total of maybe 3 to 4 tablespoons of flour. It's looking pretty good. I think it's like just the right amount of sticky that I want. So right now I'm going to grease my big bowl with some olive oil, and then I'm gonna throw the dough over. I'm super scared of working with bread slash like yeast items all the time because I feel like anything could kill the yeast if you over knead it, or like if you don't knead it enough, or if you prove it too long, or...
Who is she greeting? She greeted us too soon. She greeted us too late.
I tend to stray away from doing bread slash yeast things, but the whole point of this is to learn, right? I think I'm just transferring this dough over and then I'm gonna leave it to prove, and there's a proving function on my oven, so I will use that. I should use a spatula for this. I should also take this off. Alright. I probably should have like greased or floured my hands first. It's fine. Oh, it's not fine. It's really sticking to my hand now. This is okay. It's gonna turn into amazing donuts, and that's what we're here for. This bowl is heavy too. Alex is gonna come help me hold this bowl while I, in his words, claw it out. Alrighty. It's heavy, right? It's heavier
No.
than you think it would be. It's not heavy.
No.
It's heavy when you're using one hand to hold it and the other hand to scoop out dough.
Whatever you say, boss man.
Boss man.
I'm just gonna scoop out as much as I can, and then when I get too annoyed, I will stop scooping. I'm just gonna let this be. I'm going to cover it, and then I will let the dough rise for about an hour or so, or until it has doubled in size. So I guess I will put this in my oven and then keep an eye on it. To be continued. Okay, so it's been a while. I proved it for about an hour, and then honestly I had to go do some other things. So it has basically doubled in size, and we are ready to move on to the next step. Step 2, punch down the dough and roll it out to about a 1/2 inch thickness on a lightly floured counter. Using a donut cutter or a 2 to 3 inch circle cookie cutter, cut out circles in the dough, carefully transfer the circles to a parchment or Silipat lined baking sheet, and stamp out the smaller inner circles using a smaller cutter. So, punch. This is really satisfying, actually. And then what I think I'm gonna do is I might just like saran wrap my counter, or you know what? I'll clean it off, I'll dust it with flour, and then I'll plop this out. I have my rolling pin, and I'm just gonna lightly flour this countertop. I'm just gonna scoop all this out, I guess. That's coming out pretty nicely. Oh, very cool. Oh, wow. All of it just like really fell out, which is great. Now I'm going to roll, flour in my rolling pin, rolling it out. Oh, wow. It's so soft. This is really cool. This way. Wow, I really do need my countertop for this. I think this is pretty good. Okay, so I have just gone and lined my baking sheet with parchment paper. As you can see, this is the largest baking sheet I have, so I'm using that. Now I'm going to take some cookie cutters that my brother-in-law gave me. Shout out to Michael. Thank you for getting these for me. This is my favorite part about them. I'm gonna take this cookie cutter, I'm gonna cut out some circles and put it onto my baking sheet. Okay, so I've made, I think, 15 circles, if I'm counting right. I do have some extra dough left over around the side. I'm gonna see if like I can maybe put all the scraps together and make another circle or two. Also, this is sticking, so I'm gonna try to like spatula it off. Maybe, yeah, I think I didn't flour my countertop enough, but it's too late, so we'll just do our best. Okay, this is bad. It's sort of working. I'm just gonna grab it. It could be worse. These circles are not gonna be perfect, and that's okay, because you know what? Nobody's perfect. I think I really need to like flour my hands and flour my spatula as I'm doing this because they're sticky. Okay, so I just finished cutting out as many donuts as I could. Right now I'm going to take a smaller round cookie cutter. I'm just gonna cut holes in the middle. I'm assuming I can make like munchkins out of these for those of you on the East Coast who like Dunkin' Donuts. This is how your munchkins are made. I want them to be big enough so that, like the instructions say, once the donuts are baking and they expand, the hole doesn't close up. Some of these are going to be very funky shaped donuts. I've removed all of the centers from the donuts, and it says the next step we're still on step 2. It says cover the tray with lightly greased plastic wrap. At this point, you can refrigerate the donuts overnight or proceed with the recipe. Let the donuts rise for about another 45 minutes until they are puffed and nearly doubled. I decided that I'm gonna do this tomorrow, so I am going to grease my cling wrap, put it over the 3 sheets, and then put it in my fridge overnight, and I will continue making this tomorrow. So I'll see you tomorrow.
The next day.
It is the next day, and I am back in what I like to call my I am back in what I like to call my Troy Bolton shirt. As you can see, I have all of my donuts here. I left them in the fridge overnight. It's been several hours. I also have a bunch of these really cute donut holes that maybe are not so cute because they stuck to the parchment paper while I was moving them around and they look kind of mangled. But right now my oven is preheating up to 375 degrees. I'm going to put these in. And in the meantime, I'm going to make the topping. I just put 2 out of my 4 trays into the oven at 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and they're gonna be in there for, it says 8 to 10 minutes, but I'm gonna start checking at around minute 8. Right now I'm making the topping, which should not require much work at all because I just melted a stick of butter. Then I have a cup and a half of sugar, and then I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of cinnamon. I'm just gonna put that in the sugar and mix it all around. I have here 6 out of my however many donuts. These 6 just just finished baking. They've been cooling for about 2 minutes. And I will say that I did check the oven when I was baking them at around minute 8. They still looked really underdone, so I kept checking in the 9th minute and then in the 10th minute. It takes somewhere between 9 to 10 minutes, at least for me. So right now, they're pretty hot. I'm going to take this time to dip my donuts into the melted butter and then into the cinnamon sugar. Now, I just want to make a quick note. The instructions say that you know when the donuts are done in the oven when the bottoms are golden brown and then the tops are still pale, which is what we have here. I don't know if you can tell, but the bottom is darker than the top. Oh, that's hot. I'm gonna get started on dipping these. They are really hot. I think I might use tongs, so BRB. I'm back with tongs. Taking this one, so I'm just gonna put that in and then into the sugar it goes. Oh, pretty. I really like the way this looks. It's super cute. It looks just sweet enough, honestly, and I'm already excited to try them. Time for me to do the rest. So this is really interesting because right now from me just looking at the donuts, they sort of seem like bagels texture-wise. I guess I'll just have to wait and see when I bite into one. All right, I am all done with my first 6. The other ones are still baking and or cooling. I can't wait to try these, so I'm gonna take a bite of one right now. Okay, yes, wow. The inside of the donut definitely is not the same as a bagel, so I stand corrected. It's fluffy and doesn't feel super filling, which is great. The cinnamon sugar is just enough on top. I'm really pleased with these. All right, so I'd say that was a pretty big success, and I think the recipe was really easy to follow. I don't know if my donuts rose as much as they should have. They seemed definitely kind of flat on the bottom and then round on the top, but I guess that's probably what happens when you bake them instead of fry them, because they sort of have to sit on one side, whereas when you fry them, I guess you can flip them around more and they're kind of floating in the oil is what I assume, so you get a rounder bottom, but rounder bottom. But yeah, I really enjoy these donuts. I can't wait to eat the rest later and probably give them to neighbors, and I think the recipe was really great, so definitely recommend. Thanks for tuning in to Kat Tries to Bake, and I'll see you next time.